story begins an ordinary day. You're strolling through a busy mall, minding your own business, when a sudden flash of familiarity stops you in your tracks. At first, you think it's just your imagination playing tricks on you, but then you see her, a face you haven't seen in over a decade. The memories flood back like a tidal wave. Her smile, her laugh, the way she looked at you when you said goodbye all those years ago. Your heart races, but it's not just her that freezes you in place. Standing beside her are two teenagers, a boy and a girl. Something about them grabs your attention, and as you stare, the realization hits you like a lightning bolt. Their features, their expressions, even the way they stand, they look exactly like you. This is no coincidence. These are your children, twins you never even knew existed. In that moment, your world shatters, leaving you standing in the middle of that bustling mall with a single question echoing in your mind. What have I done? This is the unbelievable, real-life story of a billionaire who walked away from love, responsibility, and family, chasing a dream of wealth and power. 14 years later, his choices catch up with him in the most unexpected way, forcing him to face the life he abandoned and the people he left behind. Eric saw the loved ones who ran away from his path or died, and now he is the man who is supposed to carry his father's legacy. Welcome to Story Whisper, where we bring you the most captivating real-life stories of love, loss, and redemption. If you want to hear how this story unfolds, and believe me, it's a tale that will leave you speechless, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. So, how does a man who thought he had it all reconcile with the family he left behind? How do children raised in the shadow of his absence confront the man who gave them life but nothing more? And what happens when one moment in a mall changes everything for everyone involved? Stay tuned as we dive into this extraordinary story of heartbreak, discovery, and second chances. You won't believe what happens next. Our story begins over 14 years ago with a man named Robert Hayes. At just 28 years old, Robert was already carving his way to success in the high-stakes world of technology. He was young, ambitious, and fiercely driven, obsessed with building an empire that would define his legacy. Every waking hour was consumed by meetings, deadlines, and the relentless pursuit of his dreams. To the outside world, Robert was the embodiment of success. But behind the closed doors of his home, his life was unraveling in ways no one could have imagined. His wife, Emma, a warm-hearted and selfless woman, stood by his side, cheering him on as he built his future. She believed in his vision, supported his long hours, and took care of everything at home, hoping that one day his sacrifices would mean a better life for them both. Emma loved Robert deeply, and she believed he loved her too. But Robert had other ideas. To him, love was a distraction, a weakness in a world where only the ruthless survived. As the pressure mounted in his career, he began to see Emma as an obstacle, holding him back from achieving his full potential. Their once joyful marriage became a series of arguments and cold silences. And then, one fateful night, Robert made a decision that would change everything. He sat Emma down and told her he was leaving. No negotiation, no compromise. In his mind, walking away was the only way to focus fully on his dreams. Emma, blindsided and heartbroken, begged him to reconsider. She reminded him of the promises they had made to each other, the life they had built together, and the love they had shared. But Robert had already made up his mind. His parting words to Emma were cold and definitive. "I can't afford to be distracted anymore." And with that, he walked out the door, leaving Emma alone in a quiet house that now felt more like a tomb of broken dreams than a home. Emma was devastated, but little did she know her challenges were just beginning. For weeks, Emma tried to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. She threw herself into her work, trying to distract herself from the pain of losing the man she loved. But then, just a few months after Robert's departure, she discovered something that stopped her in her tracks. She was pregnant, not just with one child, but two. She was carrying twins. Emma was overwhelmed. She had no idea how she was going to raise two children on her own. with no support system and no one to turn to. But Emma was nothing if not resilient. She made a promise to herself and her unborn children that day. No matter what it took, she would give them the best life she could. Meanwhile, Robert's life was skyrocketing. Free from the distraction of marriage, he poured every ounce of his energy into his company. His business ventures flourished, and within a few short years, Robert became a billionaire. He bought luxurious homes in multiple cities, drove the finest cars, and rubbed shoulders with the world's elite. To anyone watching from the outside, it seemed like Robert had it all. But beneath the surface, his personal life was empty. The friends he had were business associates. The relationships he pursued were shallow and transactional. And while he had every material possession he could ever want, Robert often found himself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering why he still felt so unfulfilled. Back in a small, modest apartment, Emma was living a very different life. Raising twins Ethan and Lily was no easy task, but she poured every bit of love and energy into her children. She worked long hours at a local diner, often skipping meals so her kids could have enough to eat. But despite the challenges, Emma found joy in watching her children grow. Ethan and Lily were remarkable. Even as toddlers, they had an unshakable bond and an uncanny resemblance to their father. Emma often caught herself staring at them, seeing Robert's features reflected in their faces. His sharp jawline, his piercing eyes, his determined expressions. It was a bittersweet reminder of the man who had walked away, but it only strengthened her resolve to give them the life they deserved. As the years passed, Emma managed to create a stable, happy home for her children, despite the hardships. Ethan and Lily grew up into bright, curious, and kind-hearted teenagers, but they always had questions about their father. Emma did her best to answer them without bitterness, but deep down, she knew that one day, Robert would have to face the truth. What she didn't know was that the day of reckoning was closer than anyone could have expected. 14 years after Robert walked out of her life, fate was about to intervene in the most unexpected way. A chance encounter at a bustling mall would bring Robert face to face with the family he left behind. And what he saw that day would turn his carefully constructed world upside down. For Emma, every day was a battle, but it was one she refused to lose. With no support system, no safety net, and 2 small mouths to feed, she worked tirelessly to keep her family afloat. Days were long, nights were even longer, but Emma never gave up. She took on extra shifts at the diner, balancing work with the never-ending demands of parenthood. It wasn't the life she had imagined for herself, but it was a life she was proud of because every effort was for her twins, Ethan and Lily. Ethan and Lily grew up surrounded by their mother's love and determination. From an early age, they understood the value of hard work and sacrifice. But as they got older, their questions about their father became harder for Emma to answer. Why wasn't he around? Did he love them? Where was he now? Emma did her best to shield them from the pain of rejection, telling them stories of the man she once loved, while carefully avoiding the bitterness that lingered in her heart. Meanwhile, Robert's life was a stark contrast. In the 14 years since he had walked away, his business empire had grown beyond anything he could have imagined. With millions in his bank account, luxurious estates scattered across the globe, and an endless stream of accolades, Robert appeared to have everything, but behind the glitz and glamour, his life was painfully empty. He spent his days managing investments and attending high-profitable events, surrounded by people who admired his success but knew little about the man behind the fortune. At night, when the noise faded and the world grew quiet, Robert was left with his thoughts that often wandered back to the life he had left behind. He told himself he had made the right choice, but deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Fate, however, has a way of catching up with all of us. 14 years after Robert's fateful decision, a single ordinary day would bring extraordinary consequences. It started like any other for Robert. Now retired, he had more time on his hands than he knew what to do with. On a whim, he decided to visit a local mall, hoping to distract himself from the growing sense of loneliness that had settled over his life. As he wandered through the crowded halls, a flash of movement caught his eye. He stopped, his gaze fixed on a woman walking just a few feet ahead. Her hair was different, her posture a little more tired, but there was no mistaking who she was. It was Emma. For a moment, Robert froze, his mind racing. What was she doing here? Should he say something? But before he could act, his attention shifted to the two teenagers walking beside her. The boy and girl were tall, confident, and unmistakably hers. But there was something else, something that made Robert's breath catch in his throat. Their faces, their expressions, their eyes. He saw himself in every feature, as if he were looking into a mirror from years ago. The realization hit him like a tidal wave. These were his children, twins he never knew existed. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. The hum of the mall faded. The crowds blurred into the background. And all Robert could see was the family he had left behind. Summoning every ounce of courage, Robert approached them. His footsteps felt heavy, his heart pounding as he closed the distance. Emma saw him first. Her eyes widened in shock, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The years of silence between them hung thick in the air. Then, with a voice trembling from emotion, Robert said, "Emma, it's been a long time." Emma's expression was a mixture of surprise, anger, and something else, something softer. But before she could respond, Ethan and Lily turned to face him. The moment their eyes met his, Robert felt a pang of guilt so sharp it was almost unbearable. "Who is this?" Ethan asked, his voice cautious but curious. Lily stood beside him, her gaze steady, waiting for an answer. Emma hesitated, her eyes flickering between Robert and her children. Finally, with a deep breath, she said, "This is your father." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Ethan and Lily's faces shifted from confusion to shock, and then to something more complicated. Robert could see the questions swirling in their minds, the hurt, the curiosity, the anger. He wanted to speak, to explain, to apologize, but the weight of their stares left him speechless. Emma stepped forward, her voice firm but calm. "You left us, Robert. You walked away and never looked back. These are your children, Ethan and Lily, and for 14 years, they've been wondering why you weren't there." The twins said nothing, their expressions a mix of emotions too complex to name. Robert, overwhelmed with guilt and regret, struggled to find the words. "I didn't know," he finally whispered, his voice breaking. "I didn't know about them, about any of this." The moment was raw, charged with years of pain and questions finally coming to the surface. For Robert, it was a confrontation with the consequences of his choices. For Emma and the twins, it was a moment they had never expected, but had always imagined. And in the middle of that crowded mall, with strangers passing by unaware of the life-changing reunion unfolding before them, one family stood at the crossroads of their past and their future. What happened next would define the rest of their lives. The days following that fateful encounter were a whirlwind of emotions for everyone involved. Robert, shaken to his core, couldn't stop thinking about the faces of his children. Ethan and Lily, his son and daughter, were no longer strangers to him, and yet he had missed every moment of their lives. The guilt was crushing, but it also ignited a determination within him. He vowed to make amends, no matter how long it took or how hard it might be. But rebuilding trust isn't easy, especially when 14 years of silence lie between you. At first, Ethan and Lily were hesitant, unsure of what to make of the man who claimed to be their father. Robert began with small steps, letters, phone calls, and quiet apologies for the years he could never give back. He listened to their stories, their dreams, their fears. Slowly, they started to let him in, though the wounds of his absence didn't heal overnight. Emma, too, struggled with her feelings. Watching Robert reconnect with their children stirred up old emotions she thought she had buried long ago. Anger, betrayal, sadness, all of it bubbled to the surface. But as she saw the genuine effort Robert was making, a part of her began to soften. He wasn't the same man who had walked out on her all those years ago. The years had humbled him, and his regret was clear in every action he took. Over time, the walls between them began to crumble. Robert didn't just want to be a father to Ethan and Lily. He wanted to be a better man. He started showing up in ways he never had before, attending their school events, cheering them on at sports games, and simply being present. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying, and for Ethan and Lily, that meant more than words ever could. For Emma, the journey was just as transformative. While she had long since given up on the idea of reconciliation, seeing Robert's dedication to their children helped her find a sense of closure. She began to forgive, not for his sake, but for hers. Forgiveness didn't erase the pain, but it allowed her to move forward, free from the bitterness that had weighed her down for years. This story, like so many others, is a reminder of life's most profound truths. Robert spent years chasing wealth and success, believing that material accomplishments could fill the void in his life. But in the end, he discovered what so many of us learned too late. Money can buy comfort, but it can't buy connection. For Emma, the experience was a testament to resilience and the power of unconditional love. She raised two incredible children on her own, proving that even in the face of heartbreak, strength and determination can create something beautiful. And for Ethan and Lily, this journey was about understanding that people are flawed, but they are also capable of change. Their father's absence shaped their childhood, but his return gave them a chance to heal and grow together as a family. So, what does this story teach us? It teaches us that it's never too late to mend things right. Life gives us opportunities to mend what's broken, but only if we're brave enough to face the pain and take that first step. It teaches us that family is worth fighting for, whether it's a family we're born into or one we create along the way. But perhaps the most important lesson is this: don't wait. Don't wait until years have passed and the people you love feel like strangers. Don't wait until regret is the only thing left to hold on to. Wealth, success, and ambition may bring temporary satisfaction, but the joy of connection, the bond of family, and the gift of time together are priceless. Today, Robert, Emma, Ethan, and Lily are far from perfect. Their journey is still ongoing, and there are days when the past feels closer than they'd like. But they are together now, creating memories, sharing laughter, and healing one step at a time. For Robert, the family he once left behind has become the most important part of his life. For Emma, the weight of the past has given way to a future filled with hope. And for Ethan and Lily, the father they once thought they'd never know is now a part of their story. A reminder that love, no matter how delayed, can still find its way home. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Stories like this remind us of what truly matters in life. If this story moved you, take a moment to reflect on the people in your life who matter most. Reach out to them, cherish them, and never take them for granted. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life tales of love, loss, and redemption, because in the end, the greatest wealth we'll ever have is the love we share with those closest to us. Robert's story is a powerful reminder that life's greatest treasures are not found in bank accounts, luxury cars, or sprawling estates, but in the relationships we nurture and the bonds we fight to protect. His journey shows us that even the most broken relationships, fractured by time, pain, and regret, can be healed with effort, humility, and love. This story isn't just about redemption, it's about the courage to face the consequences of our actions, the resilience to rebuild what was lost, and the importance of prioritizing what truly matters. Robert learned that wealth and ambition can only take you so far. In the end, it's the people we hold close who define the true value of our lives. Thank you for joining us today and experiencing this incredible real-life story. If it moved you, inspired you, or made you reflect on your own relationships, take a moment to hit the like button. Share this video with someone who might need a reminder of what truly matters in life. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, stories of love, loss, and the resilience of the human spirit, make sure to subscribe to Inside the Establishment and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Next time, we'll dive into the incredible tale of a woman who thought she had lost everything, only to find her long-lost brother after winning the lottery. It's a story you won't want to miss. Until then, take care, cherish the people you love, and remember, it's never too late to make things right.